on Business Bootcamp. Good morning, good evening. Today we've got some really valuable information and content to be shared with us by Victoria. I'm going to let Victoria introduce herself. She's got her presentation on the screen, so this is going to be, get your notepads out. There's going to be a lot of note taking, but we will try and share this presentation in the group afterwards. So sit back and enjoy. And if you have any comments or questions, you can leave them in the comments and we'll get around to answering them, hopefully. Over to you, Victoria.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you guys about marketing, specifically, in hospitality. I have been doing this now for over a decade. I started with on-property experience, opening a hotel in Times Square, and then I transitioned over to the corporate world, working with big brands like Hilton, helping to market all of their 56 New York City area portfolio hotels. And so that gave me a lot of exposure to a lot of different brands, different hotel types, limited service, full service, luxury. And then I was lucky enough to transition over to a company called Selena. Selena is a startup hospitality company that is really kind of disrupting the industry and is all about this concept of experiential travel. And now most recently, I am doing consulting marketing work for Epic revenue consultants, helping to oversee kind of their marketing initiatives and services that they offer to clients. So I think, one thing about me is that I'm very passionate about hospitality marketing, and I was really lucky that I got in when I did, because since I've started over 10 years ago, there has been such a transformation or an evolution of hotel marketing. At the beginning, everything was about websites and SEO, and then it transitioned over to social and influencers, and there's always something that's kind of changing and happening. And what's even more exciting is, more so now than ever, you can actually track marketing. I always tell this story. I was with my aunt at the start of my career, and she looked me dead in the eyes and was like, you should really get out of hotel marketing or marketing in general. And I kind of gave her a weird stare. And she was like, there's no way to track it. You can't validate, the work that you're doing. You should really look to go into sales. And it's so funny to me because that statement is so not true in today's, landscape of marketing and digital marketing. And so that's a story I always like to tell, because marketing can be so beneficial, and you can see in real time pretty much your results and how you should be adapting your approach. So it's something that I'm super passionate about, and I'm really excited to be able to talk to you guys today.
So are you going to share with us how your best ways of tracking how your marketing is working? Oh, perfect.
I will.
That
comes later in the presentation.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
So what I'll do today is I'm going to, obviously we are all in this, COVID crisis landscape. And so I'll start the presentation off kind of walking through what I think the best practices are for COVID as it relates to marketing and guest communication. And then I'll go into exactly my approach to how you market strategically. And that includes kind of tracking. And lastly, we'll talk about influencers and how I think hotels should be looking to use and engage influencers based on their needs.
Perfect.
So I will get it started. First thing we're going to talk about is this concept of COVID optimization. I strongly believe that clear communication around the hotel's safety precaution is going to be key in establishing trust amongst consumers. Big brands are going to be putting a lot of money into marketing what their initiatives and efforts are. And I think it's going to be just as important for the independents to make sure that they're providing that data to their guests. And you guys have an advantage, because big brands, it takes them a while to get these initiatives off the ground. There are a lot of people you need to clear things by. You guys have the ability to take it to market much quicker and much faster. We're putting together at Epic a full guide that relates to how hotels should be approaching this, COVID crisis. And I'm happy to share out with the rest of the group if you're able to kind of pass me along their email addresses. It's a free, PDF that we're putting together to help hotels and independents, really come out of this crisis on top. And so as we look,
What
Oh,
I'll do is
sorry.
I'll put in the comments below, I'll put Epic's email address and people can email you and ask for that.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, perfect.
And so as we look to enter into this post-COVID world, the three areas or the two areas that hotels really need to be focusing on in terms of communication is website and email. And this is why, as we look at email, you need to build a dedicated COVID landing page. Samina, I know your property already has one up, but I'm just going to kind of briefly share with you why I think it's so important. You're able to update your website so quickly in real time. As this situation is so fluid, we're aware that things and operations and changes are happening on a daily basis. And so you need one place that you can update and kind of be the hub for all of your efforts. And a website makes that easy for you to do. I think the other thing hotels should look to do is make sure, especially on their OTA profiles, if you're engaged with any of the OTAs, you're allowed to have, banner ads that can kind of say, click here to see our COVID protocols. And that again will continue to establish credibility amongst the consumer. And that's the trust we're really going to need to be able to market as we, look to get out of this crisis. The third thought is you can drive all of your efforts here. So let's say you're doing something for like a social post or, email communication, like we'll get to in a second. This can be the place that you drive all of your traffic. One, that really helps, SEO, search opportunities, and helps you guys get better visibility. And it just keeps it nice and clean. As I look for email, I think, understanding that everyone has different time that they can dedicate, and what they're able to execute. I think there are 4, communication areas within email that you can look to do. The first is proactive. Once you have your safety protocols in place, hopefully a lot of you have established databases. I think sending out an informative newsletter highlighting, the major changes or, the unique things that you're doing. I heard your conversation, with Inder 2 weeks ago, and you were talking about creating masks that match kind of the employee's uniform. Like that is fun information that I think will touch guests. And you can put it out in a proactive way and then drive them back to that COVID landing page that kind of says, hey, here are all of the things we're doing. Like, trust that we have your best interest at heart.
Yeah. There's been a lot about trust, and also last week we had a crisis communications expert on, and he talked about empathy being very important in communications.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that is something, in the language that you're choosing to use. I'm sure he talked all about, using the right words that say, we understand your concern and we are here for you. And building the proper language is, as important as having these pieces. So it actually works perfect that, you heard from them last week and me this week, because now it's like, okay, this is the tone of voice we should be using, and this is how we action on it.
Exactly, 100%.
Just going through the other things, a confirmation email, there doesn't have to be, once you've got someone to book, that's a huge step. Just include a quick link at the bottom of your confirmation email. This can be automated that says, we're excited for your arrival. If you have any concerns on, our COVID precautions, click here to see what we're doing for your safety.
Yeah, that's such a good idea. I didn't even think about that, because you think that once the booking's done, it's done, but you're almost reassuring them that one more time that you know exactly what you're doing and what you're talking about.
Exactly. And I think the other thing is, raise a great point on that dedicated landing page. In addition to the safety precautions that you're doing, I think it also helps to have information around your booking restrictions or any type of cancellation policies or updates. That is just another good place for that to live, because to me, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, brilliant. One of the lady who runs this group with us, she's kind of open because they're in Georgia. And she said that people are wanting to know more and more and more than they used to. So a 5-minute conversation is now a 15-minute conversation, because they just want to be so reassured, and they just want to be really, just confident on what they're doing. So I guess doing a lot of this pre-work, you're almost taking away some of that conversation, or, less. maybe less uncertainty.
No, and I agree. And I think, part of this pre-work, I also believe in kind of marketing to your staff, right? And so if you're creating a landing page where all of this information lives, you're enabling your staff to have that area to be able to speak confidently about it and give them time to understand the procedures. So it definitely, to your point, it helps to alleviate maybe that 5-10 minute conversation that guests now want for reassuring, and allows you to give that back to your employees to make them feel empowered to speak on behalf of the property in a way, that is within reason.
Yeah, that's actually very valid, especially for this group where we do have a lot of businesses with staff who don't speak English as their first language, or maybe not even confidently, especially new language around safety. So they can at least even pull up the page and go, well, here's some of the information, which is quite endearing, I think, for a customer.
Yeah, and in the playbook, and I did include it here because it's not really, a digital marketing tactic. We talk a lot about signage, and where we think, signage. So for you, having, maybe a printout version of that at your front desk is super helpful. And there's ways to really kind of repurpose information so you're not doing it more than once.
Yeah, perfect. Love that.
And so then quickly just going through the last two, if you have the opportunity, I think a pre-arrival is very helpful, brief guests on the arrival process and walk through what they should expect along their guest journey. And this is more of the major changes, but just so that they know, when they get there, will someone be there to greet them, or are they, going in on their own? You want to make sure that they're comfortable with what they're doing, because this then comes into the last thing. Guest reviews are a great way to establish credibility in a normal environment. And I think we want to use this opportunity to solicit reviews around the hotel's new safeguards. So if you're really communicating and marketing all of your COVID initiatives to your guests, it makes it a lot easier to solicit these reviews. And I think you'll see a lot more positive feedback to help you kind of get ahead and gain more trust amongst consumers.
That's actually, thinking about the pre-arrival, that's actually a good place to say, don't worry, we've got plenty of hand sanitizer. We also sell masks, or we don't have masks, make sure you bring one. We don't have hand sanitizer, make sure you bring your own. So either way, just letting them prep themselves so that they don't arrive and have almost like a disappointment or a shock around the process. So that's a good point, as to managing the expectation.
Yeah, and so, as you look at, COVID, this is definitely what I am recommending to anyone that we at Epic are talking to. And like I said, I will, for those interested, if you want to reach out to us, we have a full playbook coming out. And I think, to help you guys bear the storm, because, it is a scary time. And as a hospitality, organization or hospitality industry, we need to come together and help each other across the board. And I passionately believe that.
And it's been wonderful. Anyone that we've asked to speak has been so forthcoming, because, we all need to get going. We need the economy to start, and that will help everybody. So there is this real collaboration, which is so nice.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfect. Okay.
So now I'm going to transition more into what I like to call, smart marketing, and how I look to, approach marketing as a hotel marketeer in, this day and age. I think now more than ever, marketing requires a true partnership with our revenue counterparts. And that's because, when you are doing hospitality marketing, you really should be trying to do one of three things. Are you driving direct bookings and helping to increase revenue? Are you trying to expand your audience reach and engagement? Or are you just trying to maximize, your digital footprint? And I think, if you look at 1 and 3, those really require a true collaboration. And as I go more into the presentation, you'll understand kind of what I mean by this. But, if we take the idea of looking to drive direct booking as an example, you really need your revenue counterparts to determine what that need is, and then you as the marketeer are the one that can come up with a creative solution. You can get as creative as you want or as basic as you want. And I think that's the one hurdle I want to kind of help address, is that marketing can be very approachable. It doesn't have to be huge agencies, campaigns that cost, hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is something where if you take maybe once a month or once a quarter based on, the operational capacity you have, to sit down with your team and kind of say, okay, what are the needs we need to solve for? You'll be able, to really kind of do that. And as a marketer, that's where you come up with the creative solutions. And, I know I've talked in the past about as a book direct hook, offering free transportation. You knew that you kind of needed to beat out the competition through driving direct bookings. And that was, as a marketer, your upsell option. So it can be fun and creative, but I think, there really is a strategic approach. Marketing is fun and it's flashy, but in today's hospitality landscape, I think the best way to do it is to kind of take a moment to step back and say, identify kind of these 6 steps.
Yeah.
The first is, go ahead.
I was going to say 6 steps would be fantastic, because most of us have medium-sized businesses and we are the marketeers. So it's either us or one of our team, our managers or something. And, we're the ones posting on social or trying to reach out to influencers or even creating the marketing material. So you're saying that we can follow these 6 steps, whoever we are in that process, and get something out which is valuable.
Exactly. I think it's really easy and it's approachable for everyone. A hotel GM can do this. You don't necessarily need a specialized background in hospitality marketing. You just need to understand what you're trying to solve for. And that's really, to me, what marketing is. And, at Epic, we always say, at the heart of a good revenue strategy is a smart marketing solution. And this, to me, is kind of a foolproof ways for hotels to be able to action on this. And so I always say you need to start out with, what is your need? Are you trying to drive rate from your property? Do you need to build base because you are, really positioning lower than last year in terms of occupancy levels, and you're concerned? Are you announcing kind of a new initiative or a new service hours that, an outlet of yours has? Maybe it's an event that you're doing on property. Once you kind of can identify the exact need you solve for, you then take into consideration your market. Is there something seasonally that is happening? Is there a demand driving event that you can kind of piggyback off of? All of these things together will really help for you to say, okay, this is the need. I understand that this is going on in the market. So now I understand who the audience may be. And the reason why the market feeds into the audience is, let's say there's like a big yoga conference, you're going to be seeing a lot of demand from yogis who value experiential travel, right? So those 2 things help for you to set the tone for your audience. And once you can figure out, who it is that you're trying to reach and target, it then takes us to the last 3 steps of, what is your strategy? What is your execution? And then, to me, what's most important and super easy, what are the metrics that you want to look at? And when I talk of strategy, these are things as basic as email campaigns, social posts. There are ways to kind of look to do things, such as Meta or PPC, but, understanding that you guys are limited in your resources, what makes most sense for you kind of at that time. And then from the strategy, you set the execution. What is the cadence? How do you want to deliver this message? What is the CTA that you want to ask for guests to do at the end of it? And then,
so with the format style, do you mean Instagram, Facebook, email, or does the format style mean something else here?
Format style could be, if you're doing email, is it a newsletter or an e-blast? And, if we take the COVID example, that should be much more of an informative newsletter, where let's say you're doing an added value offer of, free transportation to the hotel. That might be a dedicated blast, right? So that is really the only thing that you're putting in that email communication piece, because you don't want that to get lost.
Okay. And by CTA, call to action, do you mean book now,
learn more,
learn more? Reply to this email, whatever you want them to do, the action.
Exactly.
Okay.
And all of that kind of gets set through. And then the action determine, the metrics, are you hoping that people are going to open your email? Did you want them to book a certain package? Were you hoping to get site visits? And I think, marketing, especially digital marketing, can be very scary. There's Google Analytics and there are all of these like crazy things that not everyone, has the time to really deep dive into, but there are a lot of great tools out there. I really recommend Bitly to a lot of, independent hotels, because that allows you to quickly see in an easy way how many people have clicked your link. You may not be able to see how long they were on site for, which pages they visit, but if you can see, oh, wow, this email campaign generated 25 clicks and this one generated 55, clearly, the second one worked better. And I am a big believer in testing and learning in a very easy way. It doesn't have to be rocket science.
Yeah, I think, we all sometimes get overwhelmed when we even hear the word metrics, and it feels like it's going to be really analytical and number crunchy and time consuming. But simple things like you've said, site visits or time on site, if that's easy to track, open rate, they're not difficult statistics and details to look at. We just really have to understand how to do it once, and then we can keep doing it.
Yeah, and I think, there are other ways where, you can always kind of figure out, a lot of people say they don't have a marketing budget. And I think, problem with marketing is you don't realize what you're missing by not doing it. You only realize what you're missing once you start doing it. And it's kind of hard to rip that Band-Aid off. And I think if a great practice for hotels, and you see this actually now a lot in the big brands, where they charge a % of commission for your direct bookings to put into things such as like meta search or social, because at that point, looking at meta search specifically, that customer is looking at you, right? And so how are you making sure that you're connecting with that person? So if independents are able to say like, okay, based out of the direct bookings I was able to receive, I can do 1% of each booking for that next month's marketing budget to go for things like meta, you'll see a stronger conversion, hopefully, away from the OTAs onto your direct booking site. And I think that's something that it's a less scarier way to be like, okay, we need X amount of a marketing budget. Use the 6 steps to kind of set a goal for yourself. If you're trying to drive direct bookings, maybe your metric is, did I see an increase in direct bookings, and by how much? Okay, so now what percentage of that bookings, maybe it's $2 that I want to put towards, a meta campaign or a very, very targeted social campaign.
Yeah, I have to confess, we've had our hotel around for almost 14 years, and we didn't ever think about marketing in the sort of logical sense. It would be probably an aside or something that happened just because we were posting on social media and had OTAs. And in the last year, I have changed my mind on that so much. I just can't even. It's one of the primary things that we focus on now is how are we going to market? What's our strategy? What's our aim? All of the stuff you're talking about here. And it has made a difference, not only in kind of, the response, but our confidence, because we know we're not dependent now on a random search on OTA and hope that we pop up, or even being on TripAdvisor. It's more logical. And that gives us more confidence that we have control of the destiny of our business. And also, we have such a great offer. I know that we have a great business and a great offer, but if people don't know about it, why would they come? So, we have to get in front of them. We have to tell people that we're here and be proud of that. So it's a little bit of mindset around marketing. I think that once you get over that, then you do invest in it. You realize how important it is.
It is. And, it also helps, to your point, it then goes back to my second point, marketing to look to drive direct booking, optimize channels, but also expand your audience and reach. And the moment that consumer comes to you directly, you now have access to their email, right? You've locked them in. And this is now another consumer that you continue to market time and time again. And I think there is such a value there. That is why, the Marriott's and the Hiltons put so much money into their loyalty programs. And, since OTAs have really kind of come around, all of the big brands are putting a ton of their effort and corporate resources into building expansive marketing plans for this exact reason.
Yeah, brilliant. I also liked your step because we have, I know that we've talked about here, knowing your avatar, your customer avatar, your target market, but I liked your step prior to that, which is what's happening in the environment, you know, because that actually does change your avatar. And I think we need to be really confident that, okay, this month my avatar is this person, therefore this is the language that I'm speaking and this is how I'm marketing. And next month that can change because, like you said, there may be a yoga conference or it's diving season, or, you know, in Ubud, for example, we have the literary events or foodie events. So just tweaking what you're saying because of who's around makes a massive difference, especially in hospitality, because it does change so
creating
much.
Packages around those events, you know, free yoga mat, or you know, tickets to the festival, because that then kind of, which I don't dive in too much here because, you know, I think what's most important is to understand the 6 steps, but you know, there is a massive shift in the hospitality industry as a whole towards more experiential travel. And independent hotels are at such an advantage to quickly kind of connect with the local communities in ways that, you know, the bigger franchisees are not. And that's something that you guys can really capitalize on in a way that most brands can't. You know, prior to going on Selena, I worked at Hilton and we were all about destination-based marketing. And the concept is really, how can you connect to those local events and local things that are happening and put Hilton in consideration? So it shows you how important it is. And I think, like I said, you guys are at the advantage of that.
Yeah. Most of us are already doing it quite naturally, but now we'll do it more consciously, hopefully, and actually make it collaborative. And like you said, use it in our marketing language to speak to the audience that's coming at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. Thank you. That's really helpful.
Perfect. And then the last thing I just kind of want to go over is this idea of how I view approaching influencers as it relates to hotel marketing, and what hotels should be thinking about, you know, when they get these requests, you know, whether you're proactively, you know, reaching out to secure an influencer, or if someone comes to you. I always think that there are 3 things that you need to consider. You know, what is the goal that you are trying to achieve by using this influencer? You know, is it building content for your own personal use? Are you looking to just expand your brand awareness because, you know, this particular yogi fits a segmented profile that you see at your hotel a lot, so you think there will be a lot of, you know, collaboration between, you know, connecting in and value with reaching their audience? Are you trying to drive traffic to your site? And the 4th one, which is definitely the most difficult, and I think why hoteliers sometimes have a hard time working with influencers, is, you know, you'll hear the thing, well, I didn't get any bookings out of it, or I didn't see any revenue increase. And I will always go back to them and say, you know, well, what was your goal, you know, with working with them specifically? And the goal then really help you to understand what type of influencer you should be working with. You know, there are a lot of different, you know, crazy phrases out there. You know, me personally, from my time at Selena, especially knowing that we're in this age of experiential travel, I prefer much more niche influencers. You know, they speak to a very dedicated audience that is passionate about what they do. And so while they may not have 100,000 of followers, those 6,000 followers really value what they're saying, and they will be influenced kind of by what they are posting.
So before you carry on, can I ask you?
Of course.
I see your next column is type of influencer, but when I think influencer, I think someone on Instagram with hundreds of thousands of followers who can, you know, blast something on their stories, on their Instagram feed that will then click back to you. Is that just one type? I can see that you've got types next. So it isn't a numbers game. It isn't about, you know, the one with the biggest numbers. It's more about what you are trying to do.
And I think, you know, influencer, you know, is most often associated with Instagram, but it can also mean, you know, a blogger. I find a ton of value in working with bloggers for a number of reasons. You know, one, most of them have a dedicated email list or a subscriber list. They obviously are posting about the experiences, and those posts include link backs. and in the game of trying to digitally optimize, having someone linking back to your site various times is so valuable for you, especially if it's around something that you're really trying to be known for or targeted. And so I think, influencer, the term is really, someone who has the ability to kind of put influence on someone in terms of whether it's aspirational or actual action.
Okay. And then when you say, what do you mean by niche? Are they also?
So a niche influencer is someone, I would say, who has a small following. Going back, you were saying you think of someone with hundreds of thousands of followers. What, as marketeers, I'm targeting is maybe someone who has under 10,000, 5 to 10, but has really high engagement rate. There is a tool, I believe it's called IG Blade. The name is escaping me at this moment. Okay. But it allows you to kind of put in an influencer specifically for Instagram, and you can see how their engagement rate stacks up. Are they posting content that's actually getting comments and reactions and likes? And that is really more what drives my decision than how many followers they have.
And how would you find an influencer? Like, what's your step before that to say, okay, here's Joe Blogs, and that they're a really great niche influencer. How do I know what to do? How do I find them?
To me, it kind of goes back to the 3 steps at the beginning. What is the need that you're trying to identify for? Are you looking for someone that can help you to kind of drive, business around kind of pretty images and kind of put, your hotel at the forefront through their great capture or ability to capture kind of moments in time, and then kind of start to scroll from there. I can get lost for hours at a time looking at Instagram or even blogs. Okay, we're doing a lot of great things around, family friendly things that are happening. I want to reach out to, a mommy blogger or someone or a mommy blogger that is based in, this community, because I know they're a feeder market. Do a quick Google search. Google is so powerful. It can kind of help you get where you need to go quickly.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear that it isn't more technical than just literally getting that you literally and you start searching. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, exactly. It's that easy. Obviously there are more complex, as we go down the list, there are media influencers, you have a lot of media that will reach out to you to kind of want, comp stays. I always ask myself, does their publication does their audience segmentation align with who I am as a brand? And if so, let me explore it more.
Yeah.
And then you have, your macro influencers that, brands will pay out, at the wazoo for to kind of have one post that kind of drives back. And I think for this group, that doesn't make sense. And I honestly don't really recommend that in general for hospitality, because it's the way consumers purchase products is very different than a normal retail. So it doesn't make sense in our industry as much.
Okay.
And then for me, the goal and the type then drive the value. Is this worth a comp stay? What am I willing to pay based on my goal? Am I only trying to, build brand awareness during a low period of time? Fine, I can offer up a comp stay, but am I trying to get assets? And I think this is something that hotels don't always think about. If you have an influencer that's coming on property, I really recommend setting the tone kind of with what you expect. And I usually ask for the following, rights to at least 10 images from their time on property. That can be, mixed media, so a small like video or just photos, a swipe up or a tag. I like one tag of the actual, I prefer the geo tag versus an actual hotel tag, because the trend that we're seeing is when people search hotels in, let's say, something like Instagram, oftentimes they'll use the location versus the actual tag, because it's hard to find, a hotel's name or something like that. The tag of the actual place to me is much more valuable.
Okay, great. That's a good tip.
And then, it kind of, so we have
assets. When you say assets, you mean what they give you. So whether it's a small short video, a number of pictures, some promo on their on their whatever their feed. So
Yeah.
what you get in return, and it's good to ask for something physical that they actually leave you with.
Yeah.
So here's
there are a
some
lot.
of the video. Yeah, we often get videos, short videos from our guests, and they're really helpful.
And then that's now your tool to market, to put on your social channels. It helps you so you don't have to take, a photography or videography budget, so the money that you are going to spend on that, maybe you can shift into something else, a stronger, database management or some meta search. And I think a lot of companies too will offer, and more of the up and coming kind of experiential companies, Selena has this concept of a residency program. They will offer people comp stays to produce, certain assets for them. They have to obviously meet with certain, requirements, and, there's a whole program behind it, but it just shows you the value that's there. And I think for so long, people didn't think to ask for that. And it's an easy ask.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And by paid, it's literally you hire someone to do something for you,
or hire some to do something for you. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And mix is just a good mix of the lot.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, there's no shame in saying I can comp you one night and I can do a media rate at another night, and this kind of goes back to my earlier concept of why revenue and marketing really need to go hand in hand. I think it goes back to when we were talking about the concept of understanding the market, and then also understanding what is that room has a value, and you want to make sure that that value matches what you're getting.
Yeah, perfect. Well, obviously post-COVID, when we're slower and we're more likely to have empty rooms, that's a great time to be reaching out to probably the slightly more adventurous traveler who might be, an influencer at the same time, and, use that extra capacity to actually get something out of it, like some of these assets that you've talked about. So would you encourage that we try and look for people to come and fill those empty rooms and give us something out of it?
I do. And I would encourage you guys to work together, like if there's someone that you want to bring and you guys are all in a relatively close area, or partnering with other kind of local hotels to say like, okay, I'll take them 2 nights. You can take them 2 nights, let's say they asked to cover airfare. Maybe now you can split that cost, or, working together on it. I don't think you don't need to be exclusive at all, because that kind of creates a more holistic kind of view and authenticity for an influencer.
That's a really good idea. Fabulous. We have so much to do.
I know. I hope I didn't overwhelm you. I did a lot of talking.
Yeah, well, I was very clear that this is more actions and how to make revenue than to be overwhelmed, and steps, and even visual. You've been so kind to create this visual, because seeing things visually just feels a bit more digestible than just verbal. Especially, I do think that parts of being an influencer can be overwhelming, and even just figuring out, who we're speaking to, who our customer avatar is, and how to speak to them can be really overwhelming. But I know that if you do a little bit of work, it can really reduce some of the other work later on, where you feel that you're speaking to everyone and then therefore speaking to no one, as an example.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully help with anxiety, right? Because you're helping to get in front of some of the needs that you're seeing, that you're having.
Yeah. And I do think that this is a great time for us to do some of that work, because we're not so operationally busy at the moment. So we can sit back and say, almost redefine where we want to go. So who do we want our customers to be? I know that we, about 5 years ago, did this work where we decided who we didn't want to attract because they weren't having the right experience with us. And that changed our target marketing completely. And it made a big difference to our reviews, etc. As you said
I
earlier.
agree. I mean, I hope the one thing, if anything everyone got out of this, is that marketing is really approachable. And if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn. Selena has my email. I'm always kind of happy to help, listen and see where I can give you some guidance.
What email can I share here for the playbook? Should it be yours or should it be Epic Revenues?
Do it at Epic Revenue. I think that'll just be easier. And then just say, you can call it, the Business Bootcamp marketing chat. And I can send you both the playbook and then the presentation I shared here today as well.
Oh, amazing. And I know that Epic, Inda mentioned this last time, they're doing audits, free audits. I've already booked mine in, and it's so generous because even, you know, just having someone to talk to and talk about your individual concerns or problems can make a big difference to how we can action things now to be ready to hit the ground running when this is over. And it will be over.
It will be over. And, you know, we're taking a lot of time on our end as well to hopefully continue to build content that you guys find valuable. Next week, our advisory board is doing a chat about breaking down the cost of your channels. And I think, you know, for independents, it's really important. It'll offer opportunities to see, oh, wow, maybe I can take a little bit more from here or there. So, you know, keep an eye on it. Follow us on LinkedIn. And, you know, like you said, there were some free audits that Inder had offered up. So please, you know, connect.
So your chats are on LinkedIn?
Yes, they will all be LinkedIn, as well as if you go to epic-rev.com, we have a whole blog session, and that's where we'll post, that's where we're posting all of our content there as well. So you can follow us there or on LinkedIn.
Wow, you're really doing your service to help the hospitality industry bounce back, and that makes such a difference, just to give some of the smaller businesses confidence around this. So thank you.
Of course, and thank you for having me. It was such an honor.
Oh no, honor's all ours. Thanks so much, Victoria.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye.